What's going on, family? It's your girl, Reiki Chastity, and we are back with class number 5 of Beginning Reiki. And today we are talking about Reiki in the everyday life. This is one of my favorites, family, so get into it. Let's check it out. What's going on, everybody? It's your girl, Guruji Chastity, and we are here today with class number 5 out of our 10 class series for Beginning Reiki. Today, we are going over Reiki in the everyday life, and I hope you guys are excited. As always, I like changing up my scenery to give me a better feel, a better room for expression. And today, we are at the Horn Cafe or Horn Coffee out on Murfreesboro Road here in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a Ethiopian coffee place, and it's just amazing. Very home oriented, very calm, very relaxed atmosphere. And so I want to give them a shout out and thank you and thank them for allowing me to use their space today. And so let's get into it, family. Reiki in the everyday life. All right, boom. So what we're going over today is number 1, the importance of grounding. What's the point of planting your feet? And the reason why I put this question up here is because this comes from direct experience. I remember when I went through my level 1 training and wanting to feel so light and airy all the time, and I had to ask my Reiki Master Teacher, why would I even be grounded? Who wants to be on the ground when you can fly in the sky? But there's a reason, okay? Number 2 is self-care. Create space for stillness. And we're going to look at 3 ways self-care can show up in our life, right? Because it doesn't just show up as self-care. We have to identify it. We can't leave things to our general nature. Otherwise, we really won't see any effects of transformation or any effects of benefits. Number 3, we're going to look at gratitude, the Reiki precepts. Reiki itself really opens us up to creating space within. And that's what we'll see with self-care, but we'll further complete that process by looking at the Reiki precepts and seeing what that offers us. Because those precepts allow us to tap into aspects of ourselves that are sometimes normally hidden or covered because of the things that we've experienced, because of the responsibilities that we have, because of the everyday stresses that we experience, right? And so when we look at those Reiki precepts, it brings us back to that center, to that natural law of operation. And that's just like the ultimate gift that we can give ourselves, which is gratitude. Number 4, we're going to look at helping others. We all have this innate gift. And so we see how Reiki holds space for ourselves, but how it allows us to hold space for other people as well. And that's a really big thing that I've learned with Reiki that's helped me. I found that I like to help other people, but it's not always in the way of doing. Sometimes I just want to be able to hold space. And pairing Reiki with yoga, you truly learn how to hold space for other people, how to speak up and say, hey, yeah, I can hold space for you today, or no, today is not a good day for me. You know, it gives us that opportunity. Then we're going to do an exercise to where we call our energy back to us. All of that energy that we release either was taken from us, that we gave unknowingly, that we gave when we were trying to help, but we never called it back home, or just energy that we've wasted on focusing on things that didn't work for us or wasn't what we needed. We're going to do an exercise that brings all of that energy back home to us. And last but not least, at the very end, I'll provide information on how you can connect with me to get a Reiki session, to connect, to study on your own, and just in general, family appreciation, man. Appreciation. Important information right here. This full class video will be available at www.patreon.com/Guruji Chastity at the adept level. This is class 5 out of 10. And this first 10 minutes will always be available on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube because I want you to have the opportunity to learn these spiritual success tools by learning at your own pace. I'm creating these courses with traditional universities in mind, but I remember being in college and just not feeling rushed, but always feeling like intake, 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 intake. I was always intaking information, but I never really had the opportunity to integrate it. And so that's what I am creating on Patreon. You have the opportunity or the access to all of the spiritual knowledge at your fingertips, but you also have the opportunity to study at your own pace, to integrate this information to make sure it actually works for you, to see if it actually works. So boom, let's get started. Number one, the importance of grounding. What's the point of planting your feet? Honestly, I can't even believe I had to ask this question, but as a Gemini man, mutable air, I always want to fly, want to see new perspectives. But Reiki allows us to see how too much of that high is detrimental to our well being, to my well being. And that's what I experienced the hard way, or really, that's why I have the information to share, right? So let's get into it. What is the importance of grounding? The ability to be grounded brings balance and stability to our emotional and physical states, right? Continuing to impact our state of being, it adds a sense of empowerment as we connect to nature, ourselves, and those around us. That was one of the coolest things that I experienced when working with Reiki. I was very, very passive aggressive before I took on Reiki. And I was passive aggressive because I didn't have the internal awareness or internal support to speak up for what I wanted, to say what I felt, to express my needs. And so because I couldn't express that energy in a healthy way, it would fester and linger in my body, right? To where it would cause me to behave in passive aggressive ways. And what that looks like is you may not speak up or say how you feel. Somebody might ask you, are you okay? And you'll say, yeah, I'm fine. Knowing deep down your ass ain't fine. But the passive aggressiveness comes out when that energy is in your body and it needs to be vocalized or expressed. And when it's not, other people around you can feel it, right? Feeling. That's what we really get into when we come into Reiki. Reiki teaches us to come out of our heads and come into our body to feel what's happening. And that's really the first place where we begin to feel shifts. And so that was very a huge part of my experience. I knew that I didn't have the courage to say what I wanted, but when I didn't have the courage, it still came out in how I felt, right? My energy still oozed out, and it still either created silence, tension. It created an unwanted sensation in the room, right? And that's all it all stemmed from being ungrounded, right? I didn't have any balance and stability in my emotional nature, which then affected my physical states of being, in which it affected other people's physical states of being. And so I want to share, three things that really attribute to being grounded, right? These things I have found in my own personal experience, when grounded, come really easy and really natural for me. But when I'm not grounded, these three things are the hardest to conceptualize, to interact with, and to feel into. And the first one being is that grounding brings coherence to the lessons you've learned. That's the one, a huge thing for me that I'm learning is that because my work is to receive information and transmute it to share it with other people in a more relatable way, right? That means intake, 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 and not always a lot of room or the same amount of room for the integration, for the experience, for trying it out, right? And so I noticed that I would learn a lot of things, very intellectual, and can understand a lot, right? I could understand a lot of things, but I found when it came to small choices in life, I'm having a disagreement with my partner, or I'm trying to convey a message to my mother, or I'm working in a business setting and I'm not being heard, right? I found myself in situations like that with all of this wise knowledge, all of this wise information of how what are energy blocks? What is Reiki? Like all of this stuff. I have all of these answers, but it was like I couldn't apply it to my everyday life. I couldn't find a way to articulate how I felt and then let it go. I couldn't find a way for somebody to tell me about their experience without taking it personally, right? And so everything that I learned, I couldn't bring coherence to it because I was ungrounded, right? It wouldn't stick to me. And this makes a lot of sense.